All right, we're back talking about the Gunslinger, and since I haven't really read the series or uh, it consumed a lot of the media from it, I'm just going to kind of go through it. You can tell me, you can say what you want about this stuff.
Yeah.
First question is, how many of the books have you read?
I've read them all.
You read them all. Okay, so
I read them. The Gunslinger is the hardest one to get through. It is moderately entertaining, I guess is the best way to say it. It's not the best written story. It's not. It really is just like he meets Jake. He goes after the guy, after the man in black, encounters a bunch of like trolls in a cave, and I mean, there's not a lot of plot line to the story itself. I haven't read some of these for a little while,
Right.
so I don't want to get into too many details that I
right,
can't remember
no.
because it's been since we were at the railroad that I read them. I started reading them as a conductor before I even came into dispatch because we had so much time on the road and stuff where it was like I need something else to do. And really, by the time the Gunslinger was like, okay, I got through that. That was okay. You read the second one and it's like, oh, this is pretty good. By the time you get to the second one, if you're either in it or you're not.
I was, because I read the first one and I really enjoyed the first one. I liked the limited scope.
Yeah.
And that is one thing that, from what I understand with the Gunslinger, that if I'm enjoying the limited scope of the Gunslinger, yeah, it's going to go off the rails for you.
Yeah.
I did like the drawing of the three, but it narratively it did seem a lot different because kind of the feeling I got from the first novel was it's like a fantasy western. It's like almost like a D&D kind of world, but then it goes like into like straight up sci-fi.
If you go back into the Stephen King talking about this thing, he says that he is influenced by the Lord of the Rings, Arthurian legend, and the good and the bad and the ugly. Those are kind of the Clint Eastwood, Sergio Leone trilogy of cowboy movies. And
I always heard that he considered it to be like his Canterbury Tales. Okay. I don't know where I heard that.
Probably Stephen King.
Yeah, maybe
on video after doing some coke at some point. But
so which of the because let's go through it real quick. You have the Gunslinger was in 1982, Drawing of the Three 1987, The Wastelands 1991, Wizard and the Glass 97.
Yeah.
The Wolves of the Kala was 2003.
Yeah.
The Song of Susanna was 2004. And then The Dark Tower, which is the last novel chronologically, is 2004.
Yeah, he released The Wind Through the Keyhole in 2012, which is like comes back into the middle. That's the only thing that I have. I started reading that and could not get into it, so that's the only thing that I have not read.
It says it was set between The Wizard and the Glass and The Wolves of the Kala. I wonder if, like, someone like me, let's say I want to read the series, should I read that in between those two novels?
I don't know because I haven't read it.
That's something I'll Google. But people will have opinions. It's kind of like Star Wars. They have like, this is, if you've never watched Star Wars, watch it in this order kind of thing.
If I was going to go through like what I enjoy the most, it's probably between The Wizard and Glass and The Wolves of Kala.
Okay. That's funny that the Wind Through the Keyhole, something you didn't care much for, was right between those two.
I didn't read enough of it to get into it. I started reading it, and it was a good bit of time after I'd finished the whole series when it came out 2012, because I was doing this back in probably 2007, 2008, something like that. So it was years before The Wind in the Keyhole even came out. Or I remember it coming out. It's like, oh, I'll go pick that up. I probably needed to have read it closer to the time frame of reading the other stuff to probably really get into it and enjoy it. The Wizard and Glass is kind of, when they went back and did the first Dark Tower Marvel series, that's what that's based off of.
Okay.
Wizard and Glass is the prequel story of Roland when he's young and all this stuff. And that's how they started the comic series.
All right, before we get into that, The Little Sisters of Elora. Did you ever read that?
Yeah, I read all of them.
Oh, you read that as well. Yeah. That was a novel prequel. Novella prequel.
No, I did not read that. I'm sorry.
Okay.
That
was in 98.
That's 1, 2, 3. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a little short thing.
Yep. little novella that's usually a couple hundred pages, if that.
Yeah, no, I don't know where that is
Okay.
in the
It says it's a prequel adventure to the Gunslinger. That's the only information I have.
yeah. No,
Okay.
I've read through the main books.
Right.
They have the books labeled the Gunslinger 1, 2, 3. I think
Oh,
it's 7 of
yeah.
them. So I guess that makes sense that that's an eighth that doesn't fall into that. The
So
Song of Susanna is or I'm sorry, the Wolves of Kala is why I'm like very attached to the casting that I would want to see done
hmm,
for Susanna Dean or Odetta Holmes, because she is from that point in the story on. She's kind of like she's a major part of the story. She's a really cool part of the story. Um, I mean, she isn't all of the ones prior to that too, but that was kind of the one that kind of made me really like I love this character, and I don't know how to get into it without getting into the details of the
yeah.
story, but it's in a wasteland kind of era where she's already kind of learning to be a gunslinger using the revolvers and stuff with Roland.
And this
And
clearly a light spoiler. Uh, so she's not in the wheelchair.
now most of the time that he's carrying her on his back.
Oh, so she's not like healed or anything.
No, no, her legs are gone. But
Gunslinger carried on the back.
yeah,
Interesting. I
but
imagine that could be useful for a gunslinger.
in the Wolves of Kala, she meets with these. I think they're the Sisters of Ariza or something.
Okay.
I don't remember the exact name. And they're this like group of women who have like sharpened metal discs that they throw and like have the accuracy of like snipers. And she
So
trains with them and
Xena.
learns to use those. And I've seen T-shirts and like artwork and stuff of like her holding the discs and all this kind of stuff, and I'm like, man, that has to make it to film at some point. It's like, and if you screw that up, I will never forgive whoever whoever does that, because the wolves. I don't know how much you want to spoil anything with the books. They're
There's enough to where I don't feel like there's anything you
I
can.
don't think it's a huge spoiler.
Yeah.
The wolves are robots,
Okay.
but they're enforcers that are coming to like prey on the city, and like to take them out, like you have to like decapitate like this little like CPU thing they have on their head, and she's just like she's taking out people like crazy, just slinging discs,
Nice.
and it's like I've read it and imagined it, and I'm like,
You have that in your head.
like, God,
You got to do this right.
this will be epic on film, and if
Well, the comic series, like you were saying, adapts Wizard and Glass.
yes,
Now
and
that's
that really is the best narrative story of the whole thing, because it takes you back to like young Roland, how he became a gunslinger, and to like a early love interest, and like how what is his name, Walter, that is basically the man in black that's
mhm.
existing in this like early story. Um, they're pulling strings and like and Roland already starting to like fight against him, and it's that by itself is a standalone. That could be more than one movie.
Right.
It would be a very good series, but it's one of those things. I don't know what the right way to do it is. Whether or not you'd be better if you're going to make media out of this. If you'd be better off to just start with that, so you get
Well,
that
yeah,
background,
that's what they decided with the comics. So
or if you'd be better to just throw the gunslinger out there, have that story, have an aged Roland starting this quest out, and then coming back later. It's one of those things you could either get that really right, or you could screw up the whole thing doing that.
yeah, I almost thinking what the gunslinger is. I'm almost like if they did like a just a accurate gunslinger film, because I don't think there's enough in the gunslinger. Like it would be like 1 or 2 episodes of the show
Yeah,
if they
no,
did a
the
show.
gunslinger is easy,
Yeah,
just an
just
hour and 45-minute movie.
you could do like a long episode, like for the first episode to say the gunslinger, and then go back to Wizard and Glass.
Yeah, because I mean, really, once you start the drawing of three, it is a big break in the narrative to go back and do a flashback for a whole
Well,
four
just
or
from
500 pages of book.
now, I read the Gunslinger Born and some of the Long Road Home, but it was one of those things where like it was so different because I hadn't read the novels. It was so different from what I was expecting the Gunslinger to be. I kind of fell out of it.
Yeah,
So I actually don't know what comics of this I have. There's a whole bunch of them. The Gunslinger Born, Long Road Home, Treachery, The Fall of Gilead, It's Gilead's the city that he was born in, right?
Yeah.
The Battle of Jericho Hill, Journey Begins, the Battle of Tull, the Man in Black, and then Last Shots, which is collecting a few like shorter tales,
I think if I remember correctly, if you go down to
and then
the
like
Battle of
three
Jericho
drawing
Hill,
threes.
is the kind of the end of the Wizard and Glass stuff,
Right,
and then it jumps into the
Gunslinger.
Gunslinger. But it seemed like there was more comics than that on. I don't know.
Well, these are collected editions. These
Oh,
are like the trade paperbacks.
I got you.
Yeah,
That makes sense
yeah.
because
There's a lot
I
of
was like, I
comics.
thought I had a lot more comics than
Yeah,
just 5.
yeah.
But yeah,
And then there were one shots, and the one shots was the Sorcerer, which follows the motives of the Dark Tower villain Martin Bradcloak, which is the Man in Black, right?
yeah,
Then there's a guidebook.
yeah. Like Walter O'Dim, Martin, they're all supposed to be these different. I guess it's the same character of Randall Flagg, the Man
Right,
in
different
Black,
worlds.
just different iterations or different appearances of him.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of probably hard to describe that because probably on some realm or some measure of that I haven't read all enough Stephen King stuff to fully understand if he even understands what he meant Randall Flagg to be.
Right.
But I've always just been like he's either Satan or Satan's like general walking the earth.
Yeah.
Something along those lines.
I'm thinking about how in the Old Testament a lot of times they'll talk about the angel of the Lord, and there's a lot of theological discussion between, well, was that God or was it an angel that was representing God?
Yeah.
It could kind of be like that, where
With
he's like
Satan being a fallen angel, I guess that makes sense that he.
Well, it could be like a manifestation of Satan.
All the other fallen angels, there's Satan's the leader, and the others are
Yep.
are minions.
Let's see. They have the Gunslinger Guidebook, which I'm definitely interested in getting. Ever since I was real young, and the Archie Comics came out with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle encyclopedia. It's like a source book, and it's just like, here's a page of this character, and here's like information about that character. That format really appeals to me. I love that kind of stuff. So
I've got to get back into my box. I think I have all of those because I was picking up. I was going to our local comic place.
Yeah.
And when Terry was still around and running that, you could be like, just pull this stuff for me, and you go there and pick it up. And she was pulling all of that for me at the time, so I'm pretty sure I have all of it.
I actually went to the comic store this couple days ago to pick up my stack that I had waiting for me, and I noticed that they had a couple of issues of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, and it was issue 3 and 4. I get in the rears in comics a lot, where I gather a lot, and then I'm like, I got to read these 10 issues, and I'll sit down and read 10 issues at once, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I didn't know I was getting Mutant Mayhem, and I was like, see, you pulled it for me because I asked you to pull anything, all the IDW TMNT stuff. I didn't know they were doing a Mutant Mayhem series, and I told them, I was like, I'll pay for these, but take it off my list. I do not want this, which I'm happy about because I'm always looking at ways to say, don't give me this comic because IDW is going nuts with it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what you experienced, where you were like, there's too much stuff coming out. You're giving me too much.
What broke me was I think I've said it before, when they were doing the Dark Times series of Darth Vader, Dark Horse Comics, when Darth Vader first became Darth Vader, it was supposed to be sort of like stories of immediately after him becoming it. And all of a sudden I went back in and it was like, well, here's Rebels and here's this and here's that. And I was like, I don't want any of that. It's like, well, it's Star Wars Dark Horse stuff. I'm like, great. Okay. It's like, if you pulled it for me, I'll pay it for you just to be decent about it, as I really shouldn't. But stop pulling stuff. Don't pull anything else for me again. Yep. And that was the end of
that's always what breaks me with comics, is I'll get into it and then you try to keep up with it, but the publishers just keep making more and more, and they're like, well, if you want to the rest of this story, you have to go to this other comic. And that breaks me after a while. It's just like, you're giving me too many comics. I can't keep up with it. It's really expensive. Comics are $5 a pop now. It's ridiculous. Anyway, that's not this. These comics, you also have the End World Almanac, which just gives background to the people, places, and mythology of the Dark Tower series.
Yeah.
and The Dark Tower: Guide to Gilead. And this was just like excerpts, additional writings, like notes, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Which okay.
It was excuse me. It was a very cool thing for Marvel to do to get into this because you're sitting here looking at the actual 7 books, not all the stuff that is included with it of the whole series. I don't know if there's a book that's less than 400 pages. The Gunslinger is pretty. We've actually got it sitting right here. It is the short. I'm pretty sure it's the shortest of the bunch, and it's only like 230.
And I'm sure it's different with like different printings. It's probably different
Yeah,
thicknesses.
but still somewhere in that 200 to 300 page range. There, everything else is thick stuff. Some people have to look at that and just be like, "Nah, there's just no way." And you can actually pick up the comics to kind of get through the whole story, and it's beautifully illustrated. The comic work is. I don't know. I know Jay Lee seems like it sticks out in my head as a name from the comics. I don't know. I don't know if you can see on that stuff.
Jay Lee.
Like I think it's like JAE Lee. Seemed like he was one of the major ones that I always saw his name. It always stuck out to me because it was kind of a unique looking name. I don't know who else was involved, and that stuff doesn't mean anything to me because I don't keep track of comic illustrators and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, you could go just pick that up if you just know there's no way I'm getting through these 7 books. Just go through the comics, and it's just as an enjoyable of an experience. You probably miss a little bit of detail, a little bit extra stuff, but you get the main points.
The comics aren't complete though. They didn't finish the Dark Tower story.
Did they? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't. I know I picked up the ones that when it switched to the Dark Tower and the Gunslinger stuff. I picked those up, and I don't think I ever read them because it was just like I was buying comics at that point and sticking them in a box.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That happens to me. I get the comic, stick it in a box. I come back to it months later.
So I've never even paid attention to whether or not they finished that whole thing or not. But
it's looking like leading up to the novels and an adaptation of the first 2 books.
Okay.
They're not a full adaptation of the whole. Well, that's not true because it has the Wizarding Glass. That's like the 3rd or 4th book, right?
Well, yeah, that's what they started with though in the comics,
right?
So
let's see.
The fact that they don't get to the Wolves of Kala, then I don't want to get into.
Right. I don't think they do.
Yeah.
It says the published comic series largely covers up through the events of the Drawing of the Three, book 2, with some material covering Roland's early years before the main novel began. Yeah. And apparently, the Marvel had the rights for the comics from 2007 to 2018. They no longer have the rights. The publishing rights is with Gallery 13, which is an imprint of Scheiman and Schuster. I don't know any of this stuff. None of this sounds familiar to me, but they're really focusing on just keeping the collections being in print. That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
So they're not really doing any new stuff, which even if they did, they probably couldn't get the same writers or same artists. So I don't know. I don't even know if it would even be something that would feel right.
I've drifted so far away from the comic world. And the only news I see about it is when they're just doing weird stuff that is stuff I don't want any part of anyway. And
speaking of weird stuff,
my image of that would just be that they would have Roland with like pink hair and a nose ring, and he would have pronouns or something, and I'm just like, nah.
Maybe not quite that weird, but maybe in different ways even weirder. Charlie the Choo Choo is a children's book that was written by Stephen King under the name Beryl Evans.
Yeah.
It's a story that's in the world of the Dark Tower.
Yeah.
They just made it real.
Yeah. The other part that I really enjoy, and I think it's the hardest part to ever probably put into film, is where I think that's in the Wastelands, where they just looking to see if one of them has a picture of the train on the front. Is that? I'm pretty sure that's
the Wastelands. Yeah, that is the Wastelands.
Okay. Yeah, this picture of the Wastelands shows the first time the Crimson King comes after Susanna.
Okay.
But a large portion of that book is them in a battle of wits with Blaine the Mono. And it's a monorail with like an AI that's in charge of it that they're on, and it's basically
him and his sentient machines.
it's basically taking them to the end of the track to just smash them and just blow himself up and kill them.
Okay.
But they, because it's so smart and it thinks it's smarter than everything, they kind of get into they trick it into like this battle of the wits, and it gets into like a whole like oh my goodness, um I can't think of the word, where they're doing little mysteries that you have to, what do you call them?
I don't know. I don't know what you're going after.
Um, hang on, let me pull it up here and see because it'll probably tell you. I think it's in. If you need to pause for
Dead
just a
air.
second.
Well, while you're looking that up, there's the other things I wanted to talk about was just mention that if you want the Dark Tower comic books
Yeah,
in like an omnibus version, that does exist. It's like $200, but I'm like, for what you get, that's actually pretty good.
this is what's bad about when you get to be 50 in your brain. I was trying to think of the word riddle.
Okay.
And could not get that word out of my worn out old gray matter up here.
All right.
Like they found out in talking to Blaine that it likes riddles,
Sure.
and they get into this contest of like trying to solve them.
Yeah.
And the way it resolves itself is so funny. It's probably one of the most clever things that Stephen King's probably ever done.
That makes me think of the
Riddles,
that
Lord.
makes me think of the Labyrinth film where it's like there's the two doors. One of us always tells the truth and one of us always lies.
It's
That I saw a comic with that, and it was they came across not those doors, but it was the same idea. And it was like two guards. One of us always tells the truth. One of us always lies. And it was like a wizard and a barbarian, and the barbarian kills one of them, and he goes, "Is he dead?" And he says, "Yes." This one tell truth. I'm like, great, that's perfect. But the other,
I've always wondered like how would you they showed like the image they had drawn for the covers of one of the paperbacks we have, and it almost looks like a steam engine with like this like evil looking Thomas the Tank face on it.
right?
And I was like, God, that's awful. That can't be what it looks like. I'm always picturing like a bullet train
Mm-hmm.
with some sort of like maybe screen or something that had some sort of face or something on it. And how they do that in the movie or show, if they end up doing it, will be very interesting to see.
Yeah, the image I'm looking at here from the Wastelands is just like a skull on the front of the train.
Yeah, yeah.
That's kind of cool. That's
So
kind of H.R. Geigerish.
yeah, so I don't know,
Yeah.
that part is very fun to read.
Now I'm assuming you haven't read the Choo Choo one, the Charlie the Choo Choo.
I don't remember how that's brought up in the books. Um, I know they're back and forth between like was it like
That
70s,
isn't that early in the books? Like it isn't
like
that in the
they're going back and
drawing
forth
of the
between
three?
like 1970s New York, and then going back into like the wastelands and stuff like that. And it seems like it's a book that Jake sees or Jake knows or something. I
Yeah,
don't remember those
because
details.
I feel like I remember Charlie the Choo Choo and reading about it.
Yeah,
So
so it would have probably been the first or the second book, I guess.
oh no, it's a in the Wastelands book three. Now see,
Okay,
I did start the Wastelands, but I don't know how far I got into it. That's why I don't say I read it because
I
it
can't
could have
remember.
just been like the first
I can't remember
50
how it
pages.
plays into it. I don't.
It says Jake buys the book.
Okay.
Beryl Evans, which is a pseudonym for Stephen King, tells the story of Charlie and engineer Bob, a sentient locomotive who's replaced by diesel engine. I'm just kind of wondering if this is one of those like it looks like it from the art. It's one of those like children's books, but it's really meant for adults.
Yeah,
No, don't give it to your kids, people.
don't give your thing. Don't give anything to your kids that involves Stephen
No,
King.
Stephen King, no, definitely not. And the last thing I want to talk about, I didn't know if you had this. There's a complete concordance to Stephen King's The Dark Tower.
No, no.
I just when I was looking up, I looked up Dark Tower and other media, and that's what I came up with. There's also obviously a full audiobook productions, and there was for a time a video game on the website, like on Stephen King's website, which is funny because you can still go to where the video game is like on the website. You click it and it's like 404. It's not there anymore
Yeah.
because it's Java based and Java's like gone from the internet now.
Yeah.
But I watched a video of it. I'm trying to see what the name, excuse me, what it was called. I don't see it. Doesn't really matter. But it was almost like a one of those hidden objects games where it just had like images that you had to look around and click things and pick up items and stuff like that. I'm assuming someone who enjoys the Dark Tower series, they might get like a bunch of references through it, I guess.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's really it for like what the media of the Dark Tower covers.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
It's a lot of stuff.
You could do at least a year-long podcast just on the books.
Well, there is a podcast called Kingslingers, I think it's called.
Okay.
And it's like just all about Stephen King, and they've done deep dives into all the Dark Tower stuff. So
yeah. It would be fun. It'd probably be easier to go back and kind of already reading through them once and read it a second time.
Mm-hmm.
But it's an undertaking. But it's one of those things, though. It's almost the first time I read Jurassic Park from Michael Crichton. I read probably 30 or 40 pages of it, and was like, went in, ate dinner real fast with my parents, and came back and sat down and read. I think I read Jurassic Park in 2 days, maybe into a third to finish it. I forget exactly how long, but just couldn't stop reading it. And kind of once you get into the first book is a little slow. The second book kind of comes in, and you're like, wow, this is
weird.
This is weird. with the little
lobstrosity guys. What?
The lobstrosities and the Dedichum. Yeah. And he ends up losing some fingers, and you're like, wow, that's kind of detrimental to the idea of this guy being a gunslinger. Once you kind of get into that whole story of it, it really does start to kind of run to where there's a few segments that get a little bit a little slow, but there's not very many. Yeah. The worst parts of it is where they actually go to find Stephen King, and that part's
that's funny.
I could have done without that. That's really not important to the story, and he just works himself into it.
Hey, he likes his cameos.
And when you get to the end of it too, it's like it comes back into the area of Stephen King doesn't know how to finish his work, and he's just pulling in stuff from different properties, and like kind of, it's like it almost seems like he watched this and he read that and he just pulled some stuff from it and just kind of threw it into this. And I won't say how it all ends, but it's they're sneeches from Harry Potter.
Okay.
And you're like, what? Why is there Harry Potter in this?
But for all intents and purposes, the Dark Tower series is done.
Oh yeah,
right? It's like there's not going to be anything new from the Dark Tower, as far as we know.
I'll say, reading through it, there's some really great stuff in the middle, and you will be a little bit just kind of like, okay, that's how it ends.
Well, tell you what, looking at how George R.R. Martin is doing with the Game of Thrones books or Song of Fire and Ice books, be thankful that he finished it, because I know at one point that was like the whole thing is like, is he ever going to finish this? So at least it's done.
He was on the right spot to finish this. It just gets kind of messy,
right?
In how he was trying to incorporate stuff that it didn't need to be incorporated into it. He probably could have wrapped it up in a shorter last book, because you know where it was leading.
Right.
It was leading to a sort of a final battle thing. It's like, just go have the battle. Yeah. It's like Lord of the Rings. You know where Lord of the Rings is going. Yeah. They're going to get there and they're going to throw the ring in, and that's going to be the end of it. It's like, we don't have to have 18 million side stories in it to just get to where we know it's going.
Well, going forward in the future, the Dark Tower media that we are going to get is kind of like what we got in 2017, which is adaptations of the series.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about some of your, like, if this could have happened, it would have been cool, and what you would like to see.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And we'll talk a little bit about what seems to be planned for this thing, and we'll see if that ever actually happens.
Yeah. But that'll be in the next section.
Yep.
All right.